Hey, Winter.
Hey, Sharon.
What's 1.57?
1.57 what?
Half a pie.
I'd like a piece.
Yes.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere. It's winter.
Welcome to Hungry Squared, where the brain and belly meet. I'm Sharon and the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking about pies. Let's talk about it.
Looking for Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
What'd you eat this week?
Well, so the thing that I just keep thinking about, I know it's kind of ridiculous, but I had some really delicious ice cream.
Oh, what kind of ice cream?
Well, so it's the it's like the generic grocery brand private selection, which is I think the Kroger brand of the Denali mint mousse tracks or something like that. There's like it's mint ice cream, but it's like on steroids because it has like fudge strips through it and these little mint cups that are peppered throughout the ice cream. And I've just been thinking about it all week, and I've eaten it probably 3 out of the 7 days this week, which I probably shouldn't do because I haven't really worked out either.
Yum.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So that's what I've been thinking about, ice cream.
Nice.
What about you?
So I went to brunch. It was more like Brinner, I guess, because you don't really have brunch at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So it was more like Brinner, I guess.
Okay.
Breakfast for dinner, but it was in a weird time of the day. We went to the Hub and Spoke Diner, which is by my house
Yes.
in Sugar House. It's lovely.
Did you like it?
Oh my gosh, it was so good. I've been there a couple of times before, and I keep trying new things on their menu, and every time I go, I really love it.
You know what? That's pretty good because let's be honest, there are some restaurants we go to that we just kind of stick to the tried and true, and when we veer off and do something totally different, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, this was not. This was probably the fifth or sixth thing that I've tried there because I always eat off of other people's plates.
Oh.
Don't take me out to dinner with you unless I am allowed to try your food.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I think that's a general rule of thumb for the both of us.
Yeah. So I had a taste of, it was a crab Benedict on a cornmeal griddle cake. Not your regular English muffin.
Okay, so let's talk about this cornmeal griddle cake. Was it like almost like a polenta cake? So with that consistency a little bit firmer?
No, it was kind of like cornbread, like fried cornbread.
Oh, okay.
But a slightly different consistency than your regular cornbread.
Okay.
So more dense. More dense. Fried in some
Deliciousness.
butter or something like that. It was really good. I had a Salt Lake omelet, which they make their own porchetta there.
Oh.
It's kind of like a cured meat. Really good. There was some mushrooms in it that were tasty and some other delightful things. And man, their breakfast potatoes are crispy and delightful.
You know, if you can do a good breakfast potato, it's lovely. I just want to say that's the reason why I go to the Park Cafe.
Yeah.
Near Liberty Park, which is in Salt Lake City. Their breakfast potatoes. If you're ever in town, stop by. You'll love them.
Yep.
They're delicious.
Yeah. So we went to the Hub and Spoke Diner, which is just down the street, basically, from the Park Cafe. And it was also delightful.
Wonderful.
So
Breakfast is always good, period.
yeah, it's when, I don't know, it's a toss up between going out for breakfast, going out for dinner.
Yeah.
I like going out for both, but obviously who can afford to go out for both, but they're both very fun meals to go out for.
They are.
So,
I think I would agree with you on that. I'm not a huge lunch fan. I mean, like, I'll eat lunch.
I look forward to lunch every day at work.
Yes, me too. Don't get me wrong, but I really prefer going out to eat for breakfast and or dinner.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
we're on the same page. Go fight, win.
Boop.
And now for the main course.
Okay, so pie.
Yeah, pie. So we had kind of a discussion about what our first topic was going to be on this podcast, and pie seemed the most natural thing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, your family is really cool, and they do a Pie Day celebration every single year.
Yes, and it's quite the event. There is plenty of pie. Usually a pizza pie shows up. A chicken pot pie, I believe, showed up this year. Lee made a shepherd's pie, not a typical like pie you think about, but it was a shepherd's pie, so we brought it.
It's pie.
And there is a Pie Day quiz as well.
Oh.
And I want to say that like it gets pretty intense sometimes at this party because people are, I'm not going to say anything about my family, but some of them are cheaters.
Oh.
So this Pie Day quiz can kind of get intense. And I just say that cheaters jokingly because it's a running joke in their family that they're all cheaters. So they apparently learned it from great grandma.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this Pie Day quiz
Family is founded on cheaters.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. But they totally get into it because some of the times it's pie facts about the food, and occasionally there is something about pi as in like the number pi, 3.14, da da da, you know?
So it's a food and math quiz.
Yes, and and of course we throw this Pie Day party on or close to March 14th of every year. So that's it's an annual tradition to go to this Pie Day party. But you'd be surprised at how many of our family members are on the way to the house where we meet. We're all studying up on pi r squared, 2 pi r. It's kind of funny, but it's awesome. Like it's totally nerdy and punny and all that good fun stuff. So that's why we decided on this particular topic because it is pretty nerdy. I am going to talk a little bit about the construction of the pie crust because I don't know about you, but my family fights over crusts of things, whether it's pie crusts or heels of crusty loaves of bread. We love crusts.
Okay.
Brownie edges. Yeah. Don't even fight us for that one. We're going to win every time. So let's talk about the crust. What makes a crust so awesome? What do you like about a crust, Sharon?
I like it to be flaky and light. Kind of a buttery flavor is always a plus. I like it to be kind of like substantial. So some crusts get kind of soggy and fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
A little, and that's kind of gross.
That's no
or
fun.
they're too tough, and that's a struggle. Yeah. My crusts, when I have tried to make pie crust is a little difficult for me. Sometimes it depends, because I try to do new recipes and stuff like that. And so some of them work really well and some of them don't work really well. And I have a hard time figuring out, like, how cold is the water supposed to be? Or how cold is the butter supposed to be that I'm cutting it in? And sometimes it's pretty good and sometimes it is pretty terrible.
It is tricky. I will tell you that right now. And I am not an expert at pie crust by any means, but I do like making a good pie crust. Like if I can figure out the perfect ratio, like you said, and like the perfect temperatures, then it's super fun because you're like, it worked. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah. No, pie crust, when you get it right, it is lovely.
Like
it is a thing of wonder.
You've got to high five yourself on that one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, okay, well, let's talk about all of the ingredients that could be in a pie crust and what the players are and what they're supposed to do, what their game is. So we have flour, and the flour is there for structure, for strength of the crust. Like you said, some crusts are super soggy or just don't hold up. And that's what they're there for. And it's kind of the binder that makes everything good. So the key to flour is that it brings the gluten. And everybody's heard of gluten and all that is involved with that. So what is gluten? And what creates gluten? Gluten is a protein in the flour. And there's a couple of things that cause the formation of gluten. And that is mechanical action. So like kneading it or moving it around, the actual physical motion of flour, as well as liquid, like whatever you add into it. So obviously if you did flour with some water, you can stir it up and you're going to start forming gluten strands together. These protein strands kind of start forming, and that's where you get your structure. But of course, if you don't want to go too far. You don't want to go too far because like in breads, you want a lot of gluten. So that's what you're going for. You're going for a lot of kneading, there's a lot of gluten in that particular dough. While in like pastries, like cakes and stuff like that, have you noticed that when you do a recipe, they ask you to
not overwork the dough.
Don't not overwork your dough, your batter, and they actually ask you to generally, if it's a good recipe, you have your wets and your dries, and you combine them at the very end.
Oh, the ingredients at the end, yeah.
The wets and the dries together because you want as little gluten
as contact as possible.
Exactly, because you want it to be light and airy. Because if you have too much gluten, then you're going to have a leaden cake. Like it's just not.
Yeah, it'll just be tougher.
Yeah, exactly.
There's all of the protein.
Exactly. So, and there are there's different protein contents to different flours as well. So, for example, so like bread flours, I want to say have between 14 to 16% gluten in them. All-purpose flour between 10 and 12%. Pastry flour you're gonna get about 9%, and cake flour is 7 to 8. So that's the lower end because you want that spongy, light, airy type of flour. So that's what the flour does, is going to give you your structure. And you got to just remember your gluten is kind of the key. How are we going to get the right amount of gluten to create a light, like you said, you like that nice flaky crust that's not too thick or heavy or anything like that, but also has some structure and is not going to fall apart when you have like a cream pie, for example, where it's just not going to disintegrate. So there's that. And then you have your fat. So it could be butter, shortening, lard, and even oil is in there. Of course, butter provides some nice flavor, and we love that. And but shortening and lard, they give you a really tender pastry, which is kind of, I guess that's the best way to describe that. And you want your fat to be a certain, well, I like to kind of think about it this way, like the butter, for example. I think this is kind of a fun little fact, is that butter is not necessarily just fat. It's these tiny droplets of water that are surrounded by these, like a matrix of fat. And I think that's crucial for getting that flakiness, because when you heat up, when you're baking it, those water droplets will be created into steam. They'll change into steam, and that's what leaves your pockets, and that gives you your flakiness. Yeah. So the cool thing is that the thing that I found interesting in my research was that so generally they always talk about this kind of a higher quality butter is being better for certain things. But the thing is, those high fat content butters doesn't necessarily equate to having those lots more water in them. So American butter actually has a bit more water content. So American pie crusts sometimes tend to be flakier because there's a little bit more water content in the butter.
Versus what other kind of butter?
Like a European, something found in Europe.
So when I go to my local grocery store, and they stock some more gourmet and imported things, like those European butters that are in the big wax paper, like a pound of those. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to use that necessarily. I'd want to use like maybe some Land O'Lakes or something like that.
That's kind of that there's a little bit more water content in the stuff that's made here in the United States. So
interesting.
So I'm actually curious to see how they would compare if we did a side by side of that, the different butters. So, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So.
That's cool.
And then, of course, you want some salt, because you want a little bit of flavor. Salt actually does a little bit, even if it's just a small amount, it brings out flavor. So sugar is also another player. However, not all crusts have sugar, but sugar can be added to kind of block some of that gluten formation. So it can be helpful. Some pie crusts, and we've talked about this before, you can include some sort of acid and or alcohol. So the acid I'm thinking of is vinegar. You can add that.
Like a white vinegar?
The one that I've used has been apple cider vinegar, and I haven't really tasted any difference. But I used an apple cider vinegar, and it tenderizes it a little. And then the alcohol, once again, same thing as the sugar, prevents the formation of gluten because it kind of blocks that. It's not water, so it's not going to create that linkage. And so it can basically help you have a more flaky crust, more tender crust because of that. So, and I remember we had talked about making a crust with vodka one time.
Yeah.
And I think vodka would be a good option because it's fairly, like, I think you wouldn't be able to taste it.
It's a really neutral taste. Yeah,
exactly. And then, of course, you can try a rum if you wanted to, if you were really going for that flavor. You don't want to put too much alcohol in it. You don't want it to completely replace your liquid, which would be your water.
So would you do like half water, half alcohol in that case?
I don't think you would. Yeah, there's not that much liquid because once again, the liquid in this would be the water, and you want it to be cold. And it's to help create that gluten. But once again, we don't want to make that much. So I think I'm going to have to look at the proportions because I think it all depends on your recipe.
Okay.
Check it.
Okay.
Check it. I think that's what I would say. So that's kind of the structure of a pie crust and what the players are in different pie crusts. I thought it was really just interesting what makes things come together and be successful, and things that if you make it go too far, then the gluten will overcome your pie crust and it will be a sad, heavy little pie crust.
Yeah.
So,
sad panda pie crust.
Panda. But, when you get one that is amazing, then you got to high five yourself on that one.
Yeah. Great pie crust is hard to come by.
Yeah.
I actually had, for Thanksgiving, my friend has brunch in the morning, and she made a pear pie.
Ooh.
And it was actually a gluten-free crust, but she did her own crust. She usually does a store-bought crust because it's just kind of easy.
Yeah, totally.
And she has a good gluten-free store-bought crust that she likes. But this particular one she actually made with a combination of different gluten-free flours, but she incorporated this 7-year aged extra sharp cheddar cheese into it.
Ooh.
And it was super yummy.
That basically was the fat, a very different type of fat.
It was really yummy. And then there was also a teeny bit of rosemary in the crust.
So it was
a really savory crust, but a really sweet filling.
Ooh, I love
it. Was lovely.
Some sweet and salty action. Mm-hmm. That sounds really good. And it was gluten-free.
It was gluten-free, yeah. You can tell. I mean, it didn't taste weird. It didn't taste like it didn't have a weird texture to the crust or anything. It was lovely.
Now I got to figure out how the structure is created in that type of, because if it's gluten free, then there's got to be something else creating structure.
Yeah.
So was it flaky?
Was flaky.
It was flaky. Yes. Did it fall apart?
Probably. I mean, it was a really high pie. Like the ingredient, like the pears. I mean, there was a ton in there.
Yeah.
So each slice was probably, gosh, I don't know, several inches tall.
Wow. Okay.
So each slice was several inches tall. And so it kind of did, like, once we cut into the pie quite a bit.
It crumbled a bit.
Mm-hmm. But.
Well, that happens with.
Yeah. And that kind of happens anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it was because of a structural issue or just because it happens anyway. And like, this was a really tall pie. I do remember that. So it was super good though. And it did not last. I think there was a few people that actually may not have gotten a slice because we dug into that and it was gone.
They were snoozing, so they lose.
Yeah, basically.
No pear pie for you.
Yep. It was super good.
That sounds lovely. Now I want to figure that out. Gluten-free things. That might have to be a future episode. Okay, mental note for next time.
I think so.
Gluten-free baking and how you create structure. Okay, we'll talk about that later. So,
yeah.
I do want to talk about one last thing that I thought was really fun because it appeals to the chemist in me. It's how and why a crust turns the color it does. You know how it usually has that lovely brown,
like a golden color,
a golden, beautiful color.
Yeah.
So the reason why that happens is called the Maillard reaction, and it's a chemistry reaction where basically the amino group on an amino acid, the carbonyl group on a sugar react together and create something called a glucosamine and water. And that's what creates that lovely brown color and the delicious smell that you get from like a baking crust.
So it's a chemistry reaction?
It's a chemistry reaction. It's called the Maillard reaction. I actually think it was a little misnamed because he kind of talked about it, but somebody else kind of explained it a little bit better later, but he didn't get any credit for it. So, wah, wah. Yeah, kind of a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite...
Because pie crust.
Yeah, because pie crust. It's actually why most food browns. So it's because of that reaction between an amino acid and a sugar. So isn't that interesting?
Nice.
Totally nerdy. I'm sorry. I just had to talk about it because I found out about that and I just wanted to put that in your ear.
Sweet.
Maillard reaction. Not like the bird.
Like the pie golden crust reaction.
That a chemist came up with.
Named Maillard.
Named Maillard.
Okay.
Go fight
Gotcha.
one. Go chemistry. Chemists unite. Sorry.
What's your favorite filling for a pie?
I think I would have to go with either, I would say a cherry or a cream pie.
Oh.
Like
yum.
totally off the other end.
Okay.
With like a chocolate cream pie, maybe a banana cream pie, coconut cream pie. I like all of them. All of them.
Nice.
How about you?
I like all kinds of pies. I used to be really picky when I was a kid about pie, and now I like all of the pie. Most recently, I have tried to perfect my pecan pie recipe. Being from the South, I feel like I should master the pecan pie.
That's when you should master.
Yeah, that's not going well.
Oh. Why not?
So I used a trusted source. I used their pecan pie recipe online, and it's the only recipe of this particular trusted sources that I have used that I have not been able to make work. So all of her recipes I can always make work, and they always turn out great and delightful, and it's wonderful. And this one I can't make work.
Who is this trusted online source?
I feel like I don't really want to say because
it might taint somebody's view of...
It might taint somebody's view.
Okay.
However, this trusted online source I've also met in person, and she's lovely.
Oh, she is lovely. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yes. You and I have met her before.
Yes.
We have pictures with her.
Yes, that was really a fun day.
That was. So it's always like a soup. I make this pecan pie and it tastes the way that it should. Like I'm tasting, the crust turns out great. I'm only making half a crust, so it's only the bottom crust. And there's no top crust. So I'm only making the bottom crust. The bottom crust actually turns out well, so that's great. The filling tastes the way that the filling is supposed to taste, but it's not setting up the same way. And I think part of the problem is that this particular trusted source is at a different elevation than we are.
Oh.
So I need to learn to account a little bit better, because the last time I made it, it did semi-set. It was more like a semi-set.
Okay.
It was kind of like a
looser jello.
A loose jello. Yeah. And so when you cut into it, the first time it was just like you couldn't even cut into it. So the second time that I made it, you could cut into it, but it sort of explodes a little bit.
Kind of just started melting. Almost.
Gushing out.
Okay. That's not good.
Nope, it's not good.
That's not the way a pecan pie should be.
My friend, he was quite nice and said that it tasted really good. I think he was humoring me.
That's what friends are for.
Yes. But I have my grandmother's recipe for pecan pie, and she lived also at a lower elevation. So in Salt Lake City, we're about, I don't know, anywhere between 3,500 to 5,000 feet, depending on where you live at in the city. I'm going to have to...
So wait, have you not made...
I haven't made my grandma's yet because it's fantastic.
Okay. And you're worried.
And I'm worried.
You're worried. I would be worried too, because that's a lot of...
Because I don't want to ruin it. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of historical pressure, memories that would be shattered.
Seriously.
Shattered.
Although she used to make a pecan pie. And so when I was younger, again, I was very picky. So the pecan pie was good, but she made these pecan tartlets in a mini muffin tin. That was even better because you had the perfect ratio between the crust and the filling for the pecan tartlets.
Yeah, because I
think I could probably pull the tartlets off because less liquid.
Yes.
So
Because
I think I could probably pull that off.
I feel like pecan pie, I think that's my only issue with pecan pie is that the filling is so sweet and so can be kind of overwhelming. So you need a little bit of the crust.
Yeah, you need to temper it.
Yeah, exactly. That tartlet thing sounds lovely.
They were fantastic.
I have a really quick question.
Yeah.
Because I have an issue with certain things. When you made your pie, the one that has failed from this trusted source, and it was kind of like Jell-O.
Yeah.
How were the pecans?
So some floated to the top and some sank.
Oh.
There was a few that had suspended because it was kind of a jello-y consistency. So the way that you make the pie is you line the crust with like halved pecans.
Okay.
And then you've got your chopped pecans in the actual filling.
Oh, okay.
And so I definitely had pecans at the bottom of the crust.
Right.
And then there was a few that had kind of floated down, but they were semi-suspended, I would say.
What was the texture of the nuts? Were they crispy or were they soggy?
They leaned more to the crispy side.
Oh, that's
so they
good.
weren't soggy. They weren't super crunchy, but they definitely weren't soggy.
Okay.
So they didn't get soft and weird.
Okay. I was kind of wondering with this kind of more of that soupier texture of the liquid.
Yeah. No, it looked in the oven. It's like, okay, it's almost set. Uh-huh. But I seriously cooked it for another like 30 minutes thinking that it's almost set and it just never set. And then I was like, maybe I could put it in the refrigerator.
Didn't help.
Nope, it sure didn't.
Well, so the reason why I asked about the nuts is because I have an issue with nuts. I love nuts, but when they get soggy, like Lee and I have the saying, it's no fun soggy nuts. Like,
yeah,
it's so true.
Soggy nuts are no fun.
They are not. Like, because I remember having this, somebody had come up with this really amazing, like, pistachio cheesecake, something or another. And they like embedded the pistachios into the very wet cheesecake. And so they started taking on moisture and they were soggy. It was a little sad. So it's a thing I have. No fun soggy nuts. Don't do it, people.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad at least the nuts were not.
It's a little difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't
it's
do it.
Line.
No fun soggy nuts.
Yeah. I don't know if the sugar helps with that.
Possibly.
That might be something to look into. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, future reference things.
Okay.
Tucking it away.
Another fun favorite filling that I have is meat.
Oh, I love a good savory pie because people don't usually think about savory pies.
No, they don't.
The guys on Men in Blazers, they're the soccer guys. My husband listens to them. And they always talk about meat pies.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
They're good.
It's a thing.
Because they're good.
Do you have a particular meat pie, or is it just like a generic type of a meat pie that you like?
So I like the Natchitoches Meat Pie.
Bless you.
Yeah, Natchitoches. So being from Louisiana, there's a town called Natchitoches in kind of the north central area.
How do you spell that? I'm just really trying hard to like get. I just don't know. Whenever you say it, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what?
It doesn't look the way that it sounds.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's quite long, and you would never get that. I think it's like an Indian place name. I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay.
But it's pronounced Natchitoches.
Okay.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, great.
So it's a town in kind of north central Louisiana. And did you ever see the movie Steel Magnolias?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a scene there where they have the Christmas lights in the town.
Oh, yeah.
And the town is covered in Christmas lights.
Yeah. Super fun. That would be super fun to go to.
Yes. So you can go to that.
What?
It's in this city, this magical city called Natchitoches, where they also have the meat pie, home of the meat pie.
Wait, so they have the Natchitoches meat pie that they serve during Christmas time?
Oh, they serve it year round.
Oh,
but
okay.
yes. So you could check out the lights and get a meat pie.
Oh, okay.
At the same time.
Now that sounds like a good activity.
And the meat pies are like these handheld meat pies, kind of maybe like an empanada or something. They're really good. So the Natchitoches meat pie is this handheld meat pie that is fried to a golden goodness, and it's a savory filling. And so the filling has the Holy Trinity in it, which is the Cajun version of mirepoix.
Oh, okay.
For those of you that aren't familiar, mirepoix is kind of a basic in the culinary world as a base, an aromatic base for dishes. Usually consists of 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, 1 part celery.
Okay.
The Holy Trinity in Southern cooking, especially Cajun cooking, is 3 parts onion, 1 part bell pepper, and 2 parts celery.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it kind of gives it, it kind of gives it a little bit of a twist. Like not necessarily a spice element, but just barely.
I would say it gives probably a little bit more depth to the flavor. Okay.
It's really yummy.
What else is in it?
So they usually will add like some garlic and parsley in addition. And then it's usually ground beef or ground pork, or a combination.
Okay.
I've also had one that wasn't my favorite, but it was made with boudin, which is a blood sausage.
Okay. I was like, what is that? Let's talk about that.
No, we don't need to.
Okay.
We can save that for a regional cuisine show.
Done. Done.
But it's not my favorite. It's kind of akin to, say, a haggis, if you've ever had that.
Oh.
Slightly. Haggis is a little bit more ick factor. I've had both. So boudin is a little bit better, but not my fave.
Not much. Okay.
But I like the ground beef and pork combination in there. And so it's just kind of like a crescent shape that gets fried, and peanut oil is usually the oil of choice to fry it in because of the high smoke point.
How does one eat this pie? You have it in your hand. It's a meat pie, a hand meat pie.
Handheld meat pie.
Handheld meat pie. Does it have vents? It doesn't have vents. It can't have vents. That doesn't seem like it would be good.
I've seen them with and without.
Oh, really?
Just barely. It's just kind of scored.
Okay.
A little bit.
Does one dip it in anything, or is it just a...
It's just a nom nom kind of thing.
Okay.
A lot of people like to douse theirs in some hot sauce. I've seen it served with beans and rice. That kind of thing.
I picture this like family from the 50s jumping into their station wagon and in all of their warm clothes and getting a Natchitoches meat pie and going looking at Christmas lights.
Well, you wouldn't necessarily need warm clothes. Maybe a light jacket.
A light jacket. Oh, it's Louisiana.
It's pretty warm in the winter. It can snow. It has snowed on occasion, but really it's not that chilly. And there is a Natchitoches Meat Pie Festival in September.
What?
Yes. This year in Natchitoches, it is Friday, September 16th and Saturday, September 17th. So if you find yourselves in town without anything to do, go to the Meat Pie Festival.
I was going to say field trip.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I don't think I'm going to make it over there.
Yeah. So, but it's a really good meat pie. It's delicious. I have tried mincemeat pie, which is entirely different and on the other side of the palatable spectrum to me. I know some people are really big mincemeat pie fans.
What?
I am not.
I don't even know what is involved in a mince meat pie.
I don't either, I'll be honest.
But you've tried it and it's no good.
No, it's no good.
Okay.
I tried it to impress someone's parents once.
Oh, what are we doing when we try to
Years and
impress?
years ago when I was quite young, I wanted to impress a boyfriend's parents. I think I was like 20, 21, something like that.
The stuff we do for love.
And nobody in their family liked mince meat pie but his dad. And his mother made one every year. She hated it. But the dad got it and ate the whole dang pie every Thanksgiving. And he's like, kind of like, if you want to get in with me, you're going to eat this piece of pie. And I'm like,
man,
no problem. I have eaten worse. And I'll be honest, I have eaten worse, but it was not tasty.
So I wonder if it was just the way it was made.
I wonder if it was maybe just the ingredients and the filling.
Oh.
It was just not. I did detect like an anchovy taste to it, which I was not expecting.
Dear listeners, if you know what is in a mincemeat pie, please email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com because we totally want to know. And if you're like, you guys are wrong, you need to try this recipe of mincemeat pie.
Make me a believer because that stuff is disgusting.
So you know how Sharon feels
make
about
me
it.
a believer. If you have a recipe that is worth trying, send it on to hungrysquared@gmail.com.
We would love to see it because we want to see what you guys do and are eating out there. Let's do it.
Excellent.
I think we tied up pie pretty good.
Yeah.
Crust, filling, science, history. This is awesome.
Did it. Done.
Ka-ching.
Our podcast today is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsors. Just so you guys know, we're having a swag bag giveaway.
Swag bag?
Well,
Didn't we establish that it was going to be a swag box?
it is a swag box. There's so much cool stuff in here that it won't fit in a bag and it's going in a box. And if you leave us an iTunes rating and a review, you'll be entered to win one of 10 swag boxes full of some of these goodies that we're talking about.
Yay.
So our first sponsor is V Chocolates. And V Chocolates has donated some chocolate for you.
Yes.
It's really yummy.
They're caramels and they're toffees, you guys. It's so delicious. Their caramels are just the amount of creaminess and chew to it. Because, you want a caramel with a little bit of chew, but you don't want to break your teeth either.
Right. Nobody wants to go to the dentist because of their sweet teeth.
No way. And so they have these amazing caramels. And then I'm a huge toffee fan. I don't know if you are, but I love me some toffee. So they have generously donated something to our swag box as well. And it's these amazing chocolates. And I don't know if you've seen the packaging for it or not, but it's these beautiful, it's like that robin egg blue color. They just have some lovely branding. So
reminds you of luxury.
Yeah, it does. And you will love it. So we're super excited to have those as our V Chocolates as our sponsor. And all of our listeners, even if you don't win a swag box, you can get a discount. All of our listeners get a discount, a 10% discount if you enter the code GIVELOVE, GIVELOVE.
All uppercase.
All uppercase at vchocolates.com. So V as in victory, vchocolates.com.
Our second sponsor is the Redmond Company, and they're the makers of real salt.
And it's funny because it's not even like they made it. They just have this amazing salt mine in Redmond, Utah. They basically harvest it. It's awesome. And that's all they do. They harvest it and make sure that it's the size that they want it, and they package it up and send it off to you. They don't strip off any of those really good minerals that they have in it.
No, there are tons and tons and tons of minerals, and
I think they said over 60 different minerals in it.
It's like 64 or something like that, minerals. And it's really good for you. It comes from an ancient seabed. It's lovely. It tastes so much better, I want to say, than your regular table salt. And with so many minerals, it's really good for you.
And it's pretty too. I'm just saying it's really
gorgeous.
Pretty.
Some of you in our swag boxes might receive a rock salt.
Yes. And there's actually going to be quite a few other things that you get in there. Some of the shakers. I believe we have some seasoning shakers as well for them.
Yeah, we have some seasoned salt. We've got some popcorn salt. We've got pocket shakers. I keep one at my desk at work.
Me too, in my lunch bag.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so nice and yummy and good. So
they also make, Redmond makes some personal care products, and we have an Earth Cure soap in there for you. It's essential oils and moisturizer based soap. It's lovely. It's got coconut oil, essential oils, and some other good things in there.
So yeah, you can look forward to that if you're one of our winners. But all of our listeners could actually go to realsalt.com and put in the promo code HUNGRY15. So you get 15% off if you enter the code HUNGRY15. And everybody can enjoy all of their amazing products that they have there.
Let's have a food fight. This is the segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us because we have some entertaining things to say.
And if you need professional help, please seek it out.
Yeah, that's
but still keep listening.
Food fight, the food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
So this week, our question is from, and we're just going to use initials, KL. And you know what? If you want to write in, we're happy to give you, we can say your name. You can just let us know.
Say your name or we'll give you a pseudonym if you'd like.
Yeah, we can totally do that. So this week's question is from KL. And KL writes, I am the designated cook at home and my husband is a super picky eater and it's driving me crazy. That sounds like something I would say. I would like to try new recipes, but I'm hesitant to branch out. How can I solve this problem without affecting our relationship negatively?
Okay.
Ooh.
So she wants to try new things and he's picky. She wants to branch out. She doesn't want to make him mad. Well,
I'm going to just say...
Have you ever encountered that before?
Yeah.
Oh. Do tell.
Well, okay, so this was my first reaction. This is my first gut reaction because I am coming from a little bit of a different point of view. But I grew up learning how to cook pretty early on because my mom passed away when I was like 10. And my siblings and I kind of had to fend for ourselves. And my dad taught us how to cook really early on. And so it was kind of like, if you didn't like what was served to you, then you make it yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to say to KL's husband. Make it yourself. I guess she hasn't branched out yet, so he probably hasn't rejected anything from her. But I think there's ways to go ahead and be a little sneaky.
Sure.
About branching out, because you just got to find common ground, like in the sense of like, I like this thing. Okay, is there a recipe that's sort of like it, but is maybe there's got a little something fun that you can branch out with.
Sure. Be it like a vegetable that's related or something like that. I know I have a really good recipe for a mushroom bourguignon, which is similar to beef bourguignon. Very same flavor profile, but it's mushroom based instead of beef based.
Oh.
And so it's a good vegetarian option.
That's nice.
To a beef bourguignon. That's by Smitten Kitchen, smittenkitchen.com.
So maybe having something that is in the same, basically the sauce is going to be the same.
Sure, you're going to have a similar sauce. It's going to be thick. The mushrooms provide a good texture and a meatiness and an earthy taste. So it's not entirely dissimilar from your beef.
Gotcha.
Like in beef bourguignon, you're usually using like cheaper cuts of beef and then you're cooking them longer to make them tender. So kind of the same option with the mushrooms. Slow cook on that and it's good.
I think that could be a nice compromise to kind of...
So just, tweaking some recipes to change some ingredients up, like some trusted recipes that you have. Maybe he's a meat and potatoes guy. And you shove in a little bit more vegetables into that shepherd's pie, per se. Like, I don't know.
Do something a little bit different, but not too drastic because, let's be honest, we don't like change.
Yeah.
We just don't like it. We like our regular old what we eat, and it's nice. Comforting. It's
But
like a security blanket.
I don't know. I think also an option, though, if you have picky eaters on your hands in your family, be it your husband or your children, is to enlist them in your help in the kitchen.
Oh,
My parents did that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have issues? Picky eaters? Were you guys picky eaters?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was a pretty picky eater. I've grown out of that, thankfully. I started growing out of that, I think, when I was a teenager. Like, I opened my eyes to mustard and it was all smooth sailing from there.
It was the gateway food.
I think actually mustard was my gateway food.
Well, mustard is pretty pungent and can be quite the zinger.
Yeah. So
to a
it was
palate.
hard. It was hard. And I had a good starter mustard, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yes, we will. So I'm actually wondering then, what did your parents do to help this along, this picky eatingness along?
Well, they were busy and they also didn't have time to put up with, picky eaters because we've got to get on with our day.
We don't got no time for that.
Yeah.
I got the bronchitis.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. Sorry.
So we each took a night a week and we planned the dinner for that night because dinner was our big meal that we had together as a family.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of fended for ourselves for breakfast. My mom either gave us lunch money or she would make our lunches, kind of depended on the school year and stuff like that, what we were doing. But dinner, my brother and I, between the two of us, we were picky. He would eat certain things that I hated and I would eat certain things that he hated. And so our parents just decided that each of us would take a different night of the week. There's only 4 of us in my family, but that mostly covered our weeknights. And so that made things a lot easier.
Okay.
And so my brother and I kind of learned to cook. Not huge, but, there's not a lot of dishes that I made when I was little that have really stuck with me. But we got to understand you have to plan things out and then you have to grocery shop for it. Like, it just kind of gave us a concept of what our mom went through every day. She planned our meals. She had to grocery shop for the food. Then she had to plan on how to make that food last throughout the week and portion it out, prepare it, all of that kind of stuff. And so we started making things that we normally didn't make.
Oh.
I made fish a few times because I loved fish.
And did it go well?
It went well with everybody but my brother.
Oh, because he didn't like the fish.
That was the agreement. Like, we had all had a family meeting and agreed that maybe you're not going to like what somebody makes, but you have to at least try it. And you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. You can go to bed hungry. And I think there was always one alternative, you can have this apple or you can have this dinner. I think that's what the deal was. And so something like that. But, we made a lot of sandwiches, but my brother got kind of creative in the sandwiches that he made. So some of those turned out really good.
Oh, that's
like steak sandwiches and stuff like that.
fun. That sounds fun.
So, we got a little bit more variety in and stuff that we wanted to eat and see. And so it was good.
I think this is a great idea because when you get a little bit of responsibility, when you're in charge of something, you're going to kind of own that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So maybe KL can ask her husband what he'd like to try, and maybe she could bring it to him I'd like to try a few more things. Would you be amenable to this particular recipe? And do you want to help me make it?
Right.
Or whatever his forte is in the kitchen, if he has a forte in the kitchen. If he grills, if he is a really good Dutch ovener, I'm not sure.
Yeah, or maybe he really likes baking, so he could maybe kind of get creative with some desserts or something.
Yeah.
He can bend a little, she can bend a little, that type of thing.
So what you're saying, Sharon, then is that the way your parents kind of resolved this was to give you responsibility and a little bit more of a look into what it took. And so you guys were more willing to branch out almost?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was what the compromise was. We branched out a little bit and everybody kind of was happy because we got to take more responsibility and do things that, we got to make some more choices in our food and be responsible for it. And so that worked out.
So I bet KL could talk to her husband and actually just have a little family meeting and just talk about how she wants to branch out a little bit and see where he would be willing to give it a try.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, food is fun to experiment, and it may just be a matter of hey, I want to really try this new recipe. What do you think? And if he's weary of it, maybe she can ask for suggestions on something that she could try that would be a little bit more amenable to his palate or his food pickiness. I don't know if it's textures or, certain foods or whatever happens to be.
Yeah, give him options. I mean, not just I want to try this one thing or something, but I want to eat more than the 5 things that we eat every week.
Right. And the chicken casserole.
Yeah.
And just kidding.
Mix it up with a tuna casserole.
Delicious. I would also say that maybe if you can enlist his help, I don't know if he's a cook at all or if he has a specialty in the kitchen, whether it's grilling or baking or he's really into soups or something like that. Maybe you can enlist his help so you guys could mix it up a little bit more where he would have some responsibility.
Don't even know what their forte is in the kitchen and never know until they're asked to help.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider as well.
I think we sort of answered her question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think we're good.
Okay. Give it a try, Kale. Let us know.
Talk to him.
Yeah.
Get his help.
If you need further help, give us a holler. And we would love to hear any resolution or non-resolution of it.
Let's try
We
again.
hope we helped. But once again, there is that disclaimer at the beginning of this segment. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today on our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on iTunes, and on Stitcher. Please leave us a rating on iTunes because that will help other people discover our podcast.
Thanks so much for joining us, you guys.
And join us again for our next episode of Food Nerdery.
Yay!
Okay, love you. Bye.
So long.
Fish and marshmallows, pepperoni and mangoes. Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.